section of the Pioneer Daily Map Update. The Russia-Ukraine war continues at the full speed. As the Pioneer, we're trying to bring you the latest developments on the front line. In a moment, we will examine the latest developments on the front line together with the map. According to the latest reports, the Ukrainian army continued its counterattack operations at 4 points of the front line. In particular, we see that attacks are concentrated on the Zaporizhya front line and the Bakhmut front line. The fact that the Ukrainian army has gained an advantage, especially on the south of the Bakhmut front line, disturbs the Russian army. Therefore, we see that the Russian troops are in a state of mobility in this region. The fact that the Ukrainian army has gained an advantage, especially in the south of the Bakhmut front line, disturbed the Russian army. Therefore, we see that the Russian troops are in a state of mobility in this region. So, what is the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look at the developments together. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications as not to miss the daily map reports prepared by the Pioneer and its team. I also read all the comments you make. Please continue to express your opinion about our content in the comments. Let's start today with the Robotyne sector of the Zaporizhya front line. As you know, the Ukrainian army has reached a critical stage here. First of all, I would like to point out some sources supported by the Russian leadership underestimate the areas captured by the Ukrainian army in this region. Underestimating the successes achieved by the Ukrainian army in the Robotyne section, the sources ask the question, is this a counterattack? In fact, the areas captured here are underestimated. However, this is not the case. As you know, one of the most important goals of the Ukrainian army here is to reach the Azov Sea. The way to this is through the Robotyne region. As you can see, this region is a very close region to Melitopol and Tokmak. Melitopol and Tokmak are the biggest obstacle between the Sea of Azov and the Ukrainian army. In other words, thanks to the gains made in the direction of Robotyne, the Ukrainian army is step-by-step approaching the Sea of Azov. At the same time, this region is very close to Crimean Peninsula. Therefore, every gain gained here of great importance regardless of its size. When we look at the latest situation, we see that the Ukrainian army has launched an offensive on the western outskirts of the Robotyne region. Therefore, every gain gained here is of a great importance regardless of its size. When we look at the latest situation, we see that the Ukrainian army has launched an offensive on the western outskirts of Robotyne region. As you know, the Ukrainian army had already seized the initiative in the east of Robotyne. With the latest developments, we can say that a new siege has begun. But this siege will not last long, because the Ukrainian army has largely captured Robotyne. Only a few neighborhoods are in the hands of the Russian army. In addition, the Ukrainian army, which managed to capture a significant amount of the territory in Novoprokopivka, can be seen as the advantageous side at the moment. While the Ukrainian army is making offensive movements from the west of Robotyne, Russian troops are moving to interrupt this movement. The movements of the Ukrainian army here can be likened like a hook in the boxing. Russian troops are also trying to make offensive defense to prevent this hook. Artillery units are also very active in the region. As you know, the artillery clashes have turned into a life and death struggle. The artillery units of both armies are attacking the other side with all their forces. According to the latest reports, the Russian army hit Ukrainian artillery units in Novodanilovka. On the other hand, Ukrainian artillery hit Russian artillery positions in Verbov, Novoprokopivka, Tokmak, and Ichenko. Let us continue with the latest developments in the Wuhldar sector of the Zaporizhya front line. As you know, the Ukrainian armed forces have extended the front line in this area as well. In the Novomyrovsk and Novodonetsk sectors, the front line was extended by Ukrainian troops. When we were talking about the developments in the Robotyne sectors, we mentioned that the offensive of the Ukrainian army resembled a crochet movement. Here too, we can say that the attacks of the Ukrainian army resemble a hook. According to the latest reports, the Ukrainian army is attacking this area. No progress have been made yet. However, Russian troops suffered heavy losses during these attacks. Even if the Russian defense line does not retreat because of these attacks, it suffers a lot losses. This situation requires repeated reinforcements of the Russian troops. However, Russian troops suffered heavy losses during these attacks. Even if the Russian defense line does not retreat because of these attacks, it suffers a lot of losses. This situation requires repeated reinforcements of the Russian troops. Now we know that the Stromoyorsk and Yurkhain are under the control of the Ukrainian troops. Ukrainian troops are stationary in this area. This could be a preparation for a new offensive. Russian troops are also aware of this. Latest reports indicate that the Russian troops are mobilizing to prevent this preparation. According to the latest reports from local sources, Russian troops have launched an offensive in the direction of Yurkhain. However, we have already mentioned it before. As soon as the Ukrainian army captured this area, it built very strong defensive fortifications. From the time being, Russian troops cannot break through these defense fortifications of the Ukrainian army. For the time being, Russian troops cannot break through these defensive fortifications of the Ukrainian army. These attacks do not bring any gains for the Russian army. On the contrary, Russian troops are losing a large number of personnel and ammunition during these attacks. In this region, there is a struggle between Ukrainian artillery units and the Russian artillery units. In the recent days, Russian troops have targeted artillery units on the direction of Stromoyorsk. In the region, there is a struggle between Ukrainian artillery units and the Russian artillery units. In recent days, Russian troops have targeted artillery units in the direction of Stromoyorsk, Yurkhain and Pryotny. On the other hand, Ukrainian artillery struck Russian artillery positions in Pryotny, Zaporizhya, Starmalinka and Kermenchik. Let's continue with the Donetsk front line. In fact, not much has changed here since our previous report. Russian troops launched another offensive today in the direction of Mariinka. However, Russian troops retreated again without making any gains. Ukrainian troops in the region have not taken any action so far. They repelled the attacking Russian troops. However, they do not attack. Ukrainian troops may be in the preparations here. We will continue to follow the region. We think that new developments may occur in this region in the coming days. Let's continue our report with the Bakhmut front line. As you know, the Ukrainian army has gained a significant advantage south of the Bakhmut city center. In this way, the Ukrainian army surrendered Bakhmut city center from the south. According to the latest reports, the Ukrainian army is strengthening its fortifications in the region. Russian troops are trying to prevent this. Recent reports indicate that the Russian troops and the Russian army is mobilizing against the seize of the lost territories. However, so far Russian troops have not made any gains. There is an intense attack by the Russian troops in Klishchivka. However, so far in this attack, Russian troops have not have to retreat. There is an intense attack by the Russian troops in Klishchivka. However, so far in this attack, Russian troops have had to retreat with heavy losses. The Ukrainian army is easily repelling the Russian troops thanks to its advantage both of the center of Klishchivka and the dominant hills in the Klishchivka. We have stated that there would also be activity in the areas north of the Bakhmut. The latest report shows that the region is calm, but both armies are in the preparation. We think that especially in the Soledar region should be carefully monitored. There is also activity on the Orikhi-Vasilivka region. We think that this region will be a new front line point of the clashes. There is also activity on the Orikho-Vasilivka line. We think that this region will be the new focal point of the clashes. And what do you think? Do you think the Ukrainian army will continue to advance on the Zaporizhya front line? Do you think that the attacks of the Russian troops will continue on the Bakhmut front line? Do you think the Ukrainian army will be able to capture the city center of Bakhmut? Do you think that movement will begin in the north of Bakhmut? Tell us in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.